How to manipulate a group even if you're not the leader, first follower effect. In our world, where formal hierarchies seem unshakable, we are accustomed to believing that only recognized leaders can influence a group. Bosses, executives, team captains, these individuals, endowed with power and status, appear to be the only ones capable of setting direction, persuading others, and leading. We assume that without an official position or universal recognition, it's impossible to change a group's course, advance one's idea, or even get people to do something they hadn't planned. But what if this belief is merely an illusion? What if there's a paradoxical yet incredibly powerful way to manipulate or, more accurately, subtly influence a group, even if you don't hold a formal leadership position and lack direct authority? This is akin to an invisible social gravity that acts without direct commands, compelling people to move in a desired direction even when they are unaware of external influence. We will discuss how one seemingly insignificant role, the role of the first follower, can become the key to covertly managing a collective, getting the entire group to adopt your idea or action. This isn't about being a malicious manipulator, but about a deep understanding of human psychology and the herd instinct. In the first part, we realized that it's possible to influence a group even without formal leadership, using subtle, invisible mechanisms. Now we will delve into the psychological principles that make the first follower effect such a powerful tool for covert group influence. It's important to understand that this isn't direct manipulation in the usual sense, not dark psychology, but a skillful use of natural human tendencies towards social proof and conformity, two powerful driving forces of our behavior. Firstly, people constantly seek guidance in uncertain situations. Our brain is programmed to conserve energy and avoid risks. When there are no clear instructions, or when an idea is new, unusual, and carries a certain risk, whether social, financial, or reputational, most people tend to observe what others are doing. This is where the principle of social proof comes into play. If many people are doing something, it is perceived as correct, safe, acceptable, and even desirable. We see others jumping, and we decide it's probably safe. It's a kind of mental shortcut that allows us to make decisions faster, based on the actions of the majority. Secondly, the first follower plays a crucial role in triggering this principle. Imagine a lone dancer at a music festival. Initially, he looks crazy, writhing to the music in complete solitude. People walk by, chuckle, or simply ignore him. He looks eccentric, his behavior carries social risk, and no one wants to look the same. But if one person joins him, a second, and then a third, what seemed eccentric instantly becomes a movement. These first few individuals, the first followers, legitimize the idea or action and make it safe for others to join. They reduce the perceived risk of participation by showing that if they're doing it, it must be okay. Without them, the leader, in this case, the lone dancer or the idea's originator, remains merely an eccentric and their idea unrealized potential. This effect works perfectly in more serious contexts as well. If someone in a Silicon Valley office proposes a new, perhaps slightly wild and risky project idea, e.g., completely changing the customer relationship management system, but the first person to support it isn't the manager, but the most respected and authoritative developer who volunteers to take on the pilot version first, that idea instantly gains traction. Why? Because the authority of this first follower signals to others, this idea isn't so crazy after all if such an experienced person is willing to invest in it. It becomes safe for others and they are much more willing to join because the social risk has significantly decreased. You're not forcing people, you're simply giving them permission to act. Thirdly, the fear of social isolation and the desire for conformity are at work. Once an idea or action has gained its first follower and then a few more join, not joining them becomes increasingly risky from a social perspective. As social beings, we have a deep need to belong to a group and don't want to stand out from the crowd or go against the majority, especially if that majority has already begun to form and gain momentum. This fear of being a black sheep, of being excluded or looking foolish in the eyes of the majority, creates powerful psychological pressure to join. This leads to a kind of bandwagon effect, which compels more and more people to follow the first ones. First, there's cautious curiosity, then mild interest, then a desire not to be left behind, and finally, active joining. This isn't a command, but subtle social pressure. For example, at a student meeting at a university in Texas, if several popular and respected students start supporting an initiative to change campus rules, other students, even those who initially had doubts, are much more likely to join the movement. They don't want to be the ones who stood aside or who opposed. All these principles are based on you not giving orders, not exerting direct pressure, but creating conditions under which the group itself moves in the direction you desire. You are not using your power, but the natural tendencies of human behavior. You are not manipulating their will, you are simply subtly guiding their attention and their desire for safety and belonging. This is an art that allows you to influence a group without having formal authority, simply by understanding how social dynamics work. In the first part, we realized that it's possible to influence a group even without formal leadership using subtle, invisible mechanisms. In the second part, we delved into the psychological principles that make the first follower effect such a powerful tool for covert group influence, namely social proof, the role of the first follower, and the fear of social isolation. Now, we will move on to more specific tactics that allow you to use the first follower effect to covertly manage a group, even if you don't possess formal leadership. These methods enable you to subtly manipulate group dynamics, guiding them in the desired direction. Firstly, it's strategically acting as the first follower or orchestrating it. If you have an idea you want to promote, but you don't want to be the sole person to take the risk or become the target of criticism, you can let someone else voice it if it's their idea, or you can subtly prompt them to do so by creating favorable conditions for them. Then, you instantly and publicly become its first, most active, and most convinced supporter. Your support, especially if you have informal influence and are perceived as an authoritative group member, legitimizes the idea for the entire group. Your endorsement serves as a green light for others. Imagine someone at a Boston City Council meeting, perhaps a lesser-known activist, proposing a controversial but, in your opinion, important initiative such as creating a new public park. If you, as a respected community member with a good reputation, immediately and decisively support it, publicly expressing your agreement and willingness to help, this can encourage others to join. Your support reduces the risk for those who are hesitant and they see that the idea has already gained approval from one of their own. Secondly, it's choosing the right leader for support. If you want a group to make a specific decision but don't want to be its initiator to avoid responsibility or direct pressure, you can covertly or overtly prompt a person who possesses the most informal authority or is a trendsetter in the group to take on this role. This is someone whose opinion is respected, whose style is copied, who sets the tone. Then, once they articulate the decision you want, you become their first and most convincing supporter. Your support of their idea further strengthens their position and makes their decision even more appealing to the entire group. For example, in your team, there's a colleague who always adopts the latest and most effective tools, and others always follow their lead. If you want the team to switch to new software, you can subtly highlight the benefits of the new software in an informal conversation with this trendsetter, explaining how it helped you solve similar problems. If they start using it themselves and mention it to the group, and you immediately and publicly support them, others are much more likely to follow suit. Thirdly, it's using silence and creating a vacuum. When an idea is proposed and an awkward silence hangs in the room, a moment when everyone is waiting to see who will react first, this is precisely when the first follower is critically important. If no one speaks up, a bold public agreement or initiation of action by the first follower will fill this vacuum and direct the group's energy. Silence creates tension, and the one who breaks it sets a new tone. Imagine a brainstorming session at a Silicon Valley startup where a very bold but risky idea is proposed. Everyone looks at each other. If you or someone you've prompted is the first to decisively say, "That's brilliant. I'm willing to take on developing the prototype," this statement will fill the vacuum of uncertainty and nudge others towards a positive reaction because the risk has already been embraced by someone else. Fourthly, it's nonverbal reinforcement. Even if you don't say a word, your posture, gaze, nod, smile, or even a barely noticeable movement towards when the first follower voices an idea can serve as a powerful nonverbal signal of approval. These signals subconsciously convince others of the idea's validity and encourage them to join. People often read emotions and approval from nonverbal cues faster than from words. For instance, at a party, your friend tells a daring story. If you actively nod, smile, and support them with your gaze, even if others are silent or seem skeptical, this can encourage them to continue. Similarly, when someone voices an idea you want to support, your nonverbal body language, expressing approval and confidence, can prompt others to openly agree. All these tactics allow you to trigger a domino effect in the group, using its own tendency towards conformity and seeking social proof to achieve the desired outcome. You are not giving orders. You are creating conditions under which the group itself moves in the direction you desire, perceiving it as their own natural choice.